All right, my opponent starts with pawn to 4, and I'm going to play my defense, Caro-Kann, c6. My opponent plays d4, establishing the center, and I play d5 to strike at the center. And the pawn on c6 is there to support, of course. He defends with knight to c3, and now I'm going to take his pawn. He'll recapture, and I'll attack his knight with knight to f6. The main move is bishop f5. But I play knight to f6, even though I know that after this exchange he could double my pawns. Which, by the way, he doesn't do. He plays knight to g5. I play h6 to attack his knight. Sometimes there are players who play knight takes f7, and that's what he does. This is what's called the Alien Gambit. This position is very dangerous, and I'm going to show you how I defend it. So, I recapture with the king, and it's true that I have an extra piece. But the position of my king is particularly vulnerable. My opponent plays bishop to d3. I think that in the Alien Gambit, white usually play knight to f3. With the following trap, if you play bishop g4 to pin, there's knight e5. Check to my king, fork on my bishop with the queen, which also attacks. But my opponent played differently. Bishop d3 delaying the development of his knight. So here, in these positions, I usually play bishop to e6, I secure my king on this diagonal, and then I put my knight on d7 to control the square e5, and to counter any knights coming to e5. Then, of course, after that, I try to secure my king. So knight to d7. Here, the access squares are more or less secured. You see, knight g5, knight e5, I can take his knight. The bishop protects my king from attacks along this diagonal. On this one, there isn't an attack yet, but my knight is there to keep watch. So the direct access to my king is covered. And he plays knight e5, check anyway. So I'm going to take... Well, it seems okay, we'll see. You see, it's still very dangerous. I have an extra piece, but it's not easy to shelter my king. So here, in my opinion, he really wants to play d5-g6. If he doesn't do it, I'm going to play g6. I'll have time to play this move. g6. But here, after d5 to g6, I can't play. g6, he simply takes. So d5 to g6, king to g8, he comes into g6, he attacks my bishop, but bishop to f7. And I push back his queen, and maybe after that, I take the pawn on f5. For him, getting rid of his bishop on the white square will reassure my king, since there will no longer be a bishop on a white square facing it. It's the first time I'm facing the Alien Gambit in an instructional game. It's an opportunity for me to show you my way of defending, but there are others. And now my opponent is thinking, you see, he didn't manage to hit me with his Alien Gambit opening. And now he has to deal with his piece in my territory. There, queen to h5 check, king to g8. So it's true that my rook can't get out, but well, you have to survive the attack from white. Then afterwards, we'll manage to get organized. Here, I can't take on e5 because for now, he still has his queen. He does kingside castling. I can play. Maybe knight to c5 to eliminate his light squared bishop. He will play queen to g6. But I could play bishop to f7 as always. I wouldn't be able to take his bishop because he would take mine with check before taking my knight. If I play queen to e8 to propose exchanging the queens, he can play bishop to g6. So I can play bishop f7 afterwards. On knight c5, if he plays bishop g6 on the other hand, what do I do with my knight Rien? So I think I will propose the exchange of queens with queen e8. I play queen e8, I'm aware that he can play bishop g6, but bishop f7. There is no fork on e6. You still have to be careful, but no, there isn't, because I take his bishop while attacking his queen. It's funny how the black pieces are completely pulled back defensively, but once again, there's an extra piece. So if I survive the attack, I win the middle game and the end game. But I have to survive. In terms of time, we're pretty close. He has about 20 seconds more, but that's how it goes for him. He comes back to e2, so he played very quickly. And can I eliminate his light squared bishop with king to d5? That's really what I'm trying to eliminate. I think I can eliminate it here. Here, he won't be able to play bishop g6, Fred Amprand. So, right away, we're going to play king to d5 without his light squared bishop. My king will be able to breathe. He plays bishop c4, so here, there could be an exchange of light squared bishops. But I'm going to play queen f7 so that this exchange happens on my terms. The fewer pieces he has on the board, the less his attack will be dangerous. We need to simplify the position a bit. You see, players on chess.com with a rating of 1100 and something seem much stronger to me than those on eChess. He still came up with an interesting preparation with this Alien Gambit. So he took, I'm going to take back, how? With the queen or the knight? Not easy to decide here. He's going to want to push the pawn f because maybe I have an extra piece, but he has a majority of pawns here. 4 pawns against 3. So if I take back, he can play f4. It's protected by the bishop and the queen. And after that, he'll look to play f5. He's going to try to get me like that. But if I do queen takes, there will be that anyway. f4, f5 is going to come. I still think about doing it. Queen takes, and on f4, play g6 to try to secure the f5 square. Or else knight takes, and on f4 we could have k and d4, which has this line to queen and knight f5 coming to block. I'm going to recapture with the knight. So he plays f4 very quickly, maybe still play g6, but otherwise I have this move, knight d4 to play knight to f5. But then there's still the move, g4 that could come at me, that could hit me, so maybe g6 anyway. We keep this possibility of king d4, king f5. It would also be necessary to be able to play h5 to fight against g4. Maybe manage to play bishop g7, put the rook on f8. He plays queen here. I can play queen f5 to propose the exchange of the queens. Why not? Because if I play king h7, he'll play f5. Then I can play h5. He'll want to come to h3 and queen f5 afterwards. Actually, I'll start with h5 first. On queen h3, queen f5. And he can no longer play g4. It would be interesting to analyze this Alien Gambit after the game. You see that it can still lead to quite a few attacks for white. I think I'll offer you an analysis of this opening at the end of the game, if you agree, of course, if you do me the honor of following along. So queen g3, he retreats to g3. This push to f5 can always be played because I wouldn't be able to capture with the pawn due to the pin. Maybe I need to play king to h7, or else I play knight to d4. I'm going to play knight to d4. What's more, with knight to d4, I'm threatening the fork on e2. It's not just about bringing the knight back to f5. I think this is actually the first time in the game that I'm threatening something. If I can play e6, by the way, that's interesting. The departure of the knight frees up the pawn on e7, which could move to e6. To solidify control over the f5 square and free the bishop on the black square, which could move to c5. I move my king, and I'm looking for an exchange of rooks. He plays queen to d3, and I don't have much time left. I have to play knight to f5, and I'm looking to play e6 to free the bishop on the black square, so I don't have much time left. Fortunately, there are those 5 seconds added to the clock with each move. If I didn't make a mistake in the settings, by the way, I hope I didn't make a mistake, by the way. I don't see the time control written anywhere, by the way. So I need to manage to play e6, bishop, c5, check move, my king, my rooks connected on the d file, and that'll be fine. There could be some fun ideas. e6, bishop, c5, check, he comes here, h4, kd, g3, then we take with check, and we're close to mate because the bishop controls the cage. That would be an interesting turnaround where he's attacking my king, and in the end I'm the one who will checkmate him. The good news is that he doesn't have much time left. He plays h3, he wants to play that push to g4. I'm going to play h4 like this. If he pushes g4, there's the en passant. That's interesting. And he doesn't have much time left, but I think there's that time increment. It's good I didn't make a mistake. For the first time in the game, he has less time than I do. He doesn't know how to proceed anymore. He knows it's going to turn around. Come on, I'll play on 6. Bishop c5 check is coming. All right, I take on g3 with the en passant. I free the rook, which is also attacking the pawn on h3. Now it's really going to turn against him. He's not playing anymore. He's coming here. Is he threatening anything? I don't see it. Rook takes. We're threatening a fake check. King to g2, rook here. All right, let's give him a check here. He'll come to g2, but rook to h2, check. He comes here. I need to manage to attack with my queen, but I can't move it because of the capture on g6. This check he'll take here. I have this check that could be interesting. I'm going to play knight h4. Check. Let's see what happens. He'll come to e2. He goes there. All right. I offer the exchange of the queens. I force the exchange of the queens because anyway, I now have many more pieces than he does. There's no more attack and the g-pawn will decide everything. Bishop here, I'm attacking his rook. And the pawn g will decide. All right, I play g2. If he takes my bishop, there's queen anyway. And so here, he does this. All right, I'm going to give him a little check. On b5, now he has freed the rook to control, but well, it's not a big deal. It will still allow me to win some material. Rook takes, bishop takes, and here I protect the other rook. Now he's going to lose more pieces than when playing with Legos. They fall, they fall. He comes here. All right, I'll take with this rook to shave off his mustache. He gives me check, so I can't shave the mustache just yet. I'll move my king, and then I'll shave the mustache, meaning I'll take all his pawns on the second rank here. He comes there, my rooks takes, now there's the capture. All right, rook, check, rook, check. I'm going to bring the rook here. And then maybe rook check, we'll see. So rook here. My idea is rook check if he comes there, rook mate. Because he won't be able to go to d6, the rook controls it. He comes here, he attacks my knight, I give him a check, so he has to move back, but he doesn't, so he gets checkmated. Several grandmasters have already fallen for this Alien Gambit, especially in rapid games. I'm going to show you a game by Grandmaster Furman who is going to get completely swept away by this opening against an opponent who is 250 points lower than him. White played e4. Grandmaster Furman plays c6, the Caro-Kann d4, d5. White play nbd2, and there's an exchange on e4. Knight to f6, knight to g5, h6, and there it is, the Alien Gambit with n takes f7. Black have an extra piece, sure, but the black king is in a very delicate position. In my game, the opponent played bd3, and I can't go take the pawn on d4 since my queen would be undefended, and bg6. Check would then allow white to win my queen. So bishop to d3 is possible, but most of the time white rather play knight to f3. With the following trap, if black play bishop to g4, the pin, it might seem intuitive. The problem with this move is that there is knight to e5. The fork is the discovered attack that allows white to win back the piece, ending up a pawn ahead and with the black king out of castling. That's why after knight to f3, you shouldn't play bishop. g4, and I usually play that move. Bishop, e6, then knight to d7, and afterwards bishop to g4. Knowing that the knight will no longer be able to come to e5 with check because my black knight can eliminate it. But there are a lot of players who play it. e6, c5 is also a very common move. In the game, Grandmaster Furman played e6. The opponent played bishop to d3, so bishop to d6, kingside castling, knight to d7, rook to e1. The c5 push in black is looking to open the d-file and trade the queens or exchange pieces. But c3 is played, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4. And rook to e8, we slide the rook over to defend e6 and allow the king to come back and hide. White take the opportunity to play knight to e5, check. You can't capture with the knight, otherwise pawn takes and delivers a fork. So bishop takes was played, pawn takes, knight to d5. And now queen to h5, check, king to g8. And we think that's it, black have finally managed to shelter their king. But no, because there's the bishop sacrifice, takes on h6 coming up, a devastating sacrifice. You really can't take this bishop. In fact, in the game, black didn't take it. They played knight to f8. But if black take the bishop, they're facing a mating attack. Look, after pawn takes, queen to g6, check, king to h8, we have queen to h7 mate, of course. And after king to f8, we can take on h6. If the king goes to e7, queen to g7 is mate. And if the king goes to f7, we can play bishop to g6, check. After king to g8, queen to h7, and queen to f7 are mate. And after king to e7, queen to g7 is mate. So we understand that after bishop to h6, it can't be taken. Grandmaster Furman brings his knight back in a hurry to try to defend, but he gets hit with bishop takes g7. Terrible. And still, the bishop can't be taken. He didn't take it, instead he played something else. Queen e7. But if we take this bishop, there is no mate because the knight holds the h7 square, so the queen cannot enter, and the knight holds the g6 square. But rook e4 will arrive with the swing of the rook to g4, and the black king has no defense. This is a totally winning attack for white. In the game, after bishop takes on g7, so queen e7 was played, but there was the swing of the rook to e4. And then queen takes on g7, rook g4. And the discovered attack, of course, as you have understood, is totally winning. You can see just how dangerous this Alien Gambit can be. Even grandmasters can get swept away in the opening and suffer devastating attacks. So, that being said, my opponent made a mistake in the opening, a mistake I didn't take advantage of, but it would have allowed me to win the game more quickly. Look, after pawn to e4, c6, then d4, d5, I'll show you the moves that led to the Alien Gambit. When I play h6, knight takes, king takes. And here, remember, my opponent played bishop to 3. So, you can see why I can't take the pawn on d4 because of bishop to g6 check, and I played bishop. e6. He played knight to f3, I put my knight on d7. And then my opponent played knight to e5. Actually, that's a mistake. He should have prepared his game a bit and played, for example, kingside castling. In that case, I would have played bishop g4. That's why he plays knight e5 right away, because if he kingside castling, then I play bishop g4, and I'm no longer afraid of knight e5 because of the capture. So that's the variation I usually use. And so the opponent didn't want to get pinned by the arrival of the bishop on g4. So he doesn't castle, and he plays knight e5. And here I reacted poorly. Well, I take on e5, that's the right move. But suddenly I'm going to move my knight to d7. I was completely obsessed and focused on defending my own king, ultimately forgetting to attack his. His pawn on e5 is undefended. And his king is exposed to checks along the diagonal, so there are combinatorial clues in my favor. And of course, I should have played queen to a5 check, then taken the pawn. And that would have given me an easy game. But maybe, in the end, too easy, and it would have lost its appeal for presenting it to you as an instructive game. So, in the end, maybe it was a stroke of luck for me to have missed that tactical move, a chance to show you this rather entertaining game. So don't hesitate to let me know in the comments if you've ever faced this Alien Gambit, or if you're a fan of this gambit yourself, Alien, if you enjoyed the video, or if you found it interesting or entertaining. And we'll meet again soon for new adventures. Give a thumbs up, leave comments, share the video, support the channel. See you soon for new adventures on the chessboard.